This is a great segue into our second segment, which is surrender as strength. I think this is part of what you're always, what you bring and what you're teaching in your book. It's always to, it's surrendering is not a weakness. It's really a strength when you really um, surrender, especially to the masters, to Christ, like as you were saying. So, in this segment, we're going to explore what if surrender isn't weakness but power. We explore radical trust, the idea that every challenge, delay, and disruption is part of a divine plan. Of the divine plan, we'll talk about releasing control, reframing obstacles, and trusting that life is guiding us. Even when it doesn't make sense, if everything happens in your favor, this is where we'll find out how. So tell us, from your understanding and going through this process, how does this, especially when you surrender and you embrace this nature, how does that transform you, and how did you find this can benefit people?
Well, the thing is that it takes a long, long, long time to realize that you're quite limited by your own human limited mind. And they one of the apostles, puts it quite simple. Uh, Let the mind that was in Jesus be in you.
Hmm.
I'm not religious and I'm not a Bible preacher, but I do believe that some of that makes sense. And the logic of the human mind, it will always keep us in a safe comfort zone. It can be quite wide, quite large. Uh, you can't even notice the limits of that safety net or that comfort zone. But it takes surrender. It takes letting go of fear, letting go of attachment, letting go of uh, self uh, conception, letting go of everything. Just really opening yourself to a higher understanding, a deeper understanding of what you are, and surrender. Surrender meaning, well, not struggling and knowing it or understanding it, just surrendering and observing, and with the observation comes a deeper understanding. But we have to be patient. Uh, we have to strive. We have to try our not try. We have to just come back and remain connected, and in that connection we have access to all the information, and you can find connection through your heart. You can find connection through a path that makes sense to you. But you gotta keep connected. And I find that in my experience, even when I found the teachings of the Ascended Masters, I outsourced my energy. I outsourced my own faith. I outsourced uh, my power and my capabilities and my capacity of being, because I was in this process, and I went from a cradle to a crib, and then from the crib to a one, single bed, and then from the single bed to a double, and then to a queen, and then to a king, and then to the California king, whatever. It's just, uh, how I mean, if we are creating the image and likeness of something that has no really physical limit, why not discover what that is within us and align ourselves with it and expand with it? And it goes beyond our intellect or our logic or any uh, belief system or any religion. And
Hmm.
we have to let go of fear. We have to let go of fear. And we're so programmed into fearing something so that we can stay at bay.
And it's trusting the unseen purpose. Let me just throw this in. I think this is part of fear is that, it's not fear in something. It's just letting go. And I think that's very important. Sometimes we kind of, do not have that faith, or are doubtful of faith. But once you truly embrace faith and let go, I think that's one important place where we trust the unseen purpose, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's like you walk into a dark room, and you hold back because you don't want to walk into something, run into something, hurt yourself, fall, trip.
Yeah.
Uh, but if you light up a match, then you can see and walk your way through. And so it's all about, connecting with your inner light. It's all about connecting with consciousness. It's all about being aware, being conscious, being present. And when you're present, when you're aware, when you're conscious, call it light, call it energy, whatever, then you're aligned with fearlessness, with the clarity, with
Fearless.
understanding.
I like that concept, with fearlessness, and it's not fearlessness that it's you're gonna be unscathed, or that you're not going to be hurt, because we see what happened to Jesus, and it certainly is not just a peachy and roses. It is a life of struggle, but I think that through that struggle, and even in our failures, because that's another fear that we have, and that we mistrust, is that failures, if we really understand them, they align us and make us who we are. So I think you were saying that you went into this path, but I think that path kind of showed you, the extreme into what you did not want to become, and kind of, pushed you into the other side. So, it's always trusting the process. And I think that that's something that you always, that you also mention a lot in your book and in your work.
Yes, it's it when you are coherent, when you align yourself with trust, and you trust, you understand that the quantum field, the universal consciousness, the source is in your favor. I mean, if you
Hmm.
have fun from that energy and you are part of that energy, because all you are is energy, and you choose to keep aligned with that vibration or that frequency, or rise to that vibration and frequency on a daily basis, then you start trusting, because you know what, you're in alignment, you're coherent. And even if you have this momentum of unalignedness, of ignorance or irresponsibility, because we're creating all the time,
Yeah.
constantly, whether you know it or not, whether you're conscious of it or unconscious of it. But when you become conscious, you sort of like put the brake on. And even though you got this
Hmm.
momentum coming and it'll come and push you, you keep trusting. You keep trusting that if it's happening and it's not aligned with what you would like for it to be happening, trust that it's all helping you rise higher and
And that
higher.
realigns you, right? That trusting, because sometimes you're rigid into your thoughts and into your ways, and that precisely is, dissolving that rigidity and those, schemes that you had, but embracing higher ones, that are coming from it. And you're saying, and I like this part, that the divine within. That's the name of this podcast. That's why I put it, because there is that source within you, and like you said, that goes beyond dogma. It goes beyond, like, you put God in one book, in one word, and it kind of just takes that, like Bruce Lee would say, it takes that form. And I think, like we've learned here, is that God is formless. It becomes, and we understand him the way that we want to understand him. So I think, and I like this, of what you're saying, that through your experience and of what you lived, it's always understanding that even the hardships, and I mean, the hardships, I think, are the most, the rewarding and fulfilling, once you see in retrospect, which is what you're saying, that once you see, those different moments in your life, and when you put them together, and you get to this point, they all meant something. There wasn't all, they had a purpose, which I think is very important.
Yes, like a friend of mine put it, you never get it wrong and you never get it done.
I
If we
like
are
that.
eternal, like our source, created in the image and likeness, then it's all a beautiful, amazing, deep, profound process of expansion. I believe that we, just like I learned in these teachings, we can solar systems. Just like Christ came and sold this entire planet and transformed. Everybody's heard of him, and billions have changed by his own presence. And of course, the limited will never understand the unlimited because it's operating from the limited. So, yes, we're going to put him on a pedestal or on a cross, or we're going to go and do whatever ritual, but goes beyond that. It goes beyond, a locked matrix. And I think that God's so merciful, then we're allowed our process of unfoldment, of expansion. And if you are here walking this path, reading this book, this is beautiful because that's where you are meant to be, and it's perfect. And in the process, you're opening and expanding and understanding and seeing clearly. What holds you back is doubt, regret,
Hmm.
anxiety,
Yeah.
all these lower vibrating frequencies will hold you back. But if it's everything is frequency, everything is vibration, and we've heard of that many times. But so you think, okay, well, if I'm energy, you know, I mean, this physical matter is energy, just denser, but my thoughts are energy, my feelings
Hmm.
are energy, my words are energy. Okay, so there's higher energy, meaning lighter thoughts, lighter energy, and denser energy or heavier. And so I start picking and choosing, what am I entertaining in my head? What am I listening to in my through my ears? What am I holding to in my heart? And I start repolarizing and realigning, and I do it constantly. When you go to the gym and you want to work out and you want to build your muscles, well, you start realizing that you can't go party and then work out the next day because it will soon catch up. Or you can't eat pizza all the time because it will
Or you
soon catch.
can't you really carry that much weight right off the bat because you need to strengthen yourself,
You
and but
need to build up.
progressively you build up. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's fascinating.
And I like this because I think one important aspect that we have to take into consideration, and for part of growth, and to gain wisdom, because you can be smart, and a lot of people are smart, but it takes worship, to really understand, to take back and to really worship and see God, not in the traditional way like you're saying, but everywhere, expressed everywhere, and that's where you start, of losing, not losing, but it's putting the existence before you, and finding your place and understanding your place within existence. Once you start, worshiping, and once you start going into this part of your spiritual growth, and then you start getting wisdom. I think that the experiences, once you go through them, because like we said, it's not going to be always good experiences. You're going to go through losses like you went, but what happens once you go through that? What happens once you understand that process, and you come transformed on the other side, which is the most important.
Well, let me put it this way. The Buddha said, we are what we thought, having become, we are what we think, having become what we thought. Um, and I've gone through this process of going back to outsourcing. I understand the worship, and that's part of a process. That's part of developing compassion, developing understanding, developing forgiveness, developing all these qualities. But what
Hmm.
happens when you've developed these qualities? Not that we're perfect. Anybody that seeks perfection is only stalling themselves because they're afraid of losing and letting go. But um, I think that we should look inside. We have been going for eons looking outside, and looking outside has this empowered us, and it empowers a concept of God, and you got to worship him, and he's out there somewhere. But really, we have to go in this transition or transcendence of looking outside and outsourcing our power. uh, Faith develops power. Faith is, substance of the things hoped for and the evidence of that not yet seen. But why put it outside on something? Something is always going to be limited. And we have to discover that source is inside. We have to take our attention inside. We have to worship God within. How do
Yeah,
you worship
yeah.
God within? We worship God within by taking care of your body, taking care of your health, by loving you, by procuring your health, procuring your space, and take those sandals off your feet because where you're standing is sacred ground. Well, it's not because it was out there at Mount Sinai. It's because it's here and now. It's not tomorrow. Nobody has tomorrow guaranteed, and yesterday is gone.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
becoming conscious and being present.
On the Divine Within podcast, we'll share real conversations to help you find a personal connection with God. My goal is to support your faith, growth, and journey toward discovering the divine within yourself. Join us to deepen your faith and spiritual journey.